If you could stop somebody from breaking in before they got inside, why wouldn't you? Most old-school systems go off after someone's already in your place. That's too late. SimpliSafe is different. It's proactive, with a double layer of defense that stops crimes before they start. First, AI-powered cameras spot potential threats outside. Then, live agents step in, talking to the person through the camera, letting them know they're on video and police will be dispatched if they don't leave. They can even trigger a loud siren or spotlight. That's how you help stop crime before it starts. I got SimpliSafe a few months back, and I've never felt more secure. My new entry and motion sensors give me confidence that my family and belongings are safe. Whether I'm out of town or settling in for the night, that's real safety at the click of a button. This month only, take 50% off any new system. This is one of the best prices you'll ever see for SimpliSafe. Don't miss it. Hit simplisafe.com/disturbed. Again, that's simplisafe.com/disturbed and lock in your discount. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Last-minute shopping can be tough. With empty shelves and ideas running low, things get stressful. Aura Frames is the solution with a gift that feels personal. Take my parents, for example. At their age, they're just focused on family. That's why I'm excited to give them an Aura Frame. Aura Frames are digital picture frames that will allow me and my parents to display an unlimited number of photos on rotation. All we have to do is download the Aura app and invite family to see memories come alive in the highest resolution display on the market. I know they'll be thrilled to stay up to date on the newest photos of the grandkids. Plus, I can preload photos before they ship. After all, you can't wrap togetherness, but you can frame it. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura Frames' best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code HORROR at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code HORROR. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so get yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
This content may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion advised.
When I noticed the cubicle that was occupied next to me has its door open and it looks like he set up a bedroom inside of it.
He apparently didn't know I saw him because the moment he saw me, he stopped walking and crouched into a bush.
He was here for no reason other than to stalk me. I didn't know what to do.
When I approached him, he said, "I thought it was you, cutie. Why is the little girl awake?"
From Killer Podcasts. True tales of horror, bizarre happenings, unexplainable events. This is Disturbed. Hello, and welcome back to the show. This week, we have 3 creepy experiences that will keep you looking over your shoulder. So sit back, listen closely, and dive into the horror. In our first story, a strange man tries to befriend a girl, but she can tell he's up to something. Narrated by Dacey Else from Reddit user Everfree3925.
The first time I encountered this guy was a few years ago. I used to be homeless, and after I got a roof over my head, it was still a a very unsafe environment, so I used to spend pretty much all of my free time living on the streets and exploring the city, only going back home to sleep. I used to go for long skates to drown out the emotions and cope with what I was going through. My city is crowded and it's difficult to find quiet. After a while, though, I started figuring out my favorite parks and trails. The ones where I knew I could find solace and chill out for hours with a beautiful view, undisturbed, knowing there were fewer eyes on me, or people to judge. Some of my most peaceful memories are at these places. There was the odd weirdo or junkie that made me uncomfortable, but I kept to my own space and they kept to theirs. There was one guy, though, who, without failure, would stare at me nonstop whenever we were within sight of each other. I'm autistic and visibly clear, so I already feel intense anxiety being observed. His gaze fed those fears, making me quite uncomfortable. He often sits in a gazebo or rides a bike. He seems to be around late 40s with battered, leathery skin and is much bigger than me. He always has a bike beside him. I think he was homeless too, although he said he wasn't and was just holidaying and camping in different parks. I often get lost in deep thought and have come to find him staring at me from a distance quite a few times. I usually relocate after seeing him. It just feels weird. One time, I was chilling alone in the corner of a large park, high and enjoying nature. He comes up in front of me, basically pinning me into the corner of some bushes and introduces himself to me. He said he saw me around quite a bit and asked where I lived. I was in shock and anxious, so my answers were very brief. I tried to show disinterest while not offending him at the same time, but he didn't get the hint. He told me his whole life story, then stared uncomfortably long at my body and said he likes my outfit. Finally, he asked if I was going to be there for long and said he would be there later in the day to set up his tent. I couldn't think of anything to say. I was just overwhelmed. I stared back with a blank expression at first until I finally lied and said I needed to leave. He left too and said he'd see me around. I felt bad a while after this. I felt rude and like I was being mean, not giving this person a chance to be friendly, but something felt off about him. My body always shook with anxiety or froze up, and my heart would beat uncontrollably whenever I saw him. He gave me such a sick feeling. There were a few similar situations to this where he would suddenly show up and say he remembers me, talking like we knew each other. I reacted similarly and either said I had to go or looked away and pretended to be distracted. One time, he was talking to another male friend around the same age as him. This other guy seemed totally unhinged. I mean, he was screaming and threatening some other guy within a few seconds of showing up. I was so scared and left in a hurry. I thought all of that was bad enough, but a few days ago, something terrifying happened. I was revisiting some of my favorite trails and ended up getting caught in a storm. I hid under the only structure nearby, soaking even with my umbrella. Then, through the storm, a man wearing a raincoat rode up to me. He leaned his bike against a table while glaring at me for no apparent reason. I thought maybe he was a bigot and disapproved of my outfit. He walked a few yards away, seemingly looking at something, then came back to his bike, glaring at me again, and rode off. When the storm died down, I headed to the nearby public restroom. I barely noticed there was a locked stall and took the one next to it. It's nice and warm, so I'm making myself comfortable, doing up my hair and smoking lots of weed. I finished smoking and left the stall. As I was washing my hands, I heard a mumble over the sound of the water. I looked to my right, and the guy in the raincoat was standing there with his hood down, grinning. That's when I realized it was the same guy who had bothered me all those times before. Even though I shouldn't have, I pulled out my earphones to hear what he was saying. He was asking personal questions again, like where I lived and what I was doing there. I immediately started freaking out, and I was scared to give him any info to follow me more, so I lied. He immediately knew I wasn't telling the truth. It was written on his face. I really like your outfit, he continued. almost ignoring my response.
That skirt you were wearing last time, about a year ago, or was it a tutu? I loved that, and you looked gorgeous.
He was now grinning ear to ear, staring up and down at my body. Okay, thanks, I mutter, panicking and barely able to think.
I'm looking for action, he says.
I awkwardly pause for a while and he keeps staring. What do you mean by that, I say?
I'm looking for some sexual action, like with you.
He grins. That's when I notice the cubicle that was occupied next to me has its door open and it looks like he set up a bedroom inside of it. I feel really scared now. I'm not looking for that, I reply. He smirks and says,
At least you're being honest. Honesty will get you a long way in life.
Then mutters more stuff while still staring and grinning. Okay, I've got to go now, I stutter and walk away quickly while he's talking. Thankfully, I haven't seen him since, but I felt vulnerable and violated at the same time. I was high out of my mind and was barely able to walk. Things would have been bad if he tried anything. Also, who knows how long he was watching my stall. It's so icky.
Welcome back, listeners. Next, a woman gets cornered while walking her dog. Narrated by Danielle Patterson. From Reddit user Adorable Artist 1558.
This happened about 2 years ago when I was at my boyfriend's apartment. His roommate's dog started whining, clearly wanting to go outside to go to the bathroom. For reasons I forget, I offered to take the dog out for a small walk around the apartment complex. The area wasn't the worst, but also wasn't the best. Still, I felt safe enough to walk the dog around by myself. It was broad daylight, and I was wearing a big sweatshirt with hair thrown up in a sad attempt at a bun and my large glasses on. I usually never get any attention anyway, so I really didn't expect to be getting any with the lazy outfit I had on. As I was walking the dog to a grassy area, I walked past a dumpster where a guy was standing. I acknowledged him, but leave him to his business. As I passed, he said,
"Oh, I like your dog. What breed is he?"
and came up to pet the dog. If you've ever had a pet before, you know this isn't suspicious. I put a friendly smile on my face and said, "Oh, I think a Chihuahua mix. It's my friend's dog." After he stopped petting the dog, I continued my walk. But I realized quickly that he was following me. Now, it's fair to judge me for what happened next, but understand that this had never happened to me before, so I wasn't prepared. He walked faster to come up next to me, and he tried to continue the conversation about dogs. I wanted to be polite, but I started to get nervous. Then, he asked where I lived. My stomach dropped. I tried to stay calm and act like it didn't bother me. "Oh, I don't live here. I'm visiting my boyfriend." I turned to my boyfriend's apartment, both to insinuate how close he is and measuring how far I've walked so far. "Oh, I'm here helping my uncle move in," he said. "I bet your boyfriend wouldn't like me talking to you." I nervously laughed. I needed to get the hell out of the situation. But I didn't want to just freak out and run. I don't know this guy. He could have something on him that could hurt me. As my mind raced for solutions, I remembered I had my phone on me. I started walking to a patch of grass for the dog to walk into. Before I can get there, the guide tells me to stay for a second. We're in an area of the complex that is next to some stairs, and the grass is literally right in front of me, but I freeze like an idiot. Again, I had never been in that situation, and apparently I had the survival skills of a peanut. He sat on the stairs and said, now your boyfriend can't see us, and played it off as a joke. He started talking, but I couldn't really focus on what he was saying. I'm too busy trying to find a way to leave the situation without getting hurt. I was scared that if I tried to run or pick up my phone, he'd grab or hurt me in some way. I figured I needed to try and be calm and nonchalant. "Hey, I need to go. The dog really has to go to the bathroom and I need to get back to my boyfriend," I said. He doesn't seem to fight back against my request until he stands up. "Well, can I have a hug goodbye?" Before I can respond, he's wrapping his arms around me, pushing me up against the cement wall behind me. He forced his crotch up against me, and like the idiot I am, I tensed and froze. I was so terrified. If I didn't try and get away immediately, something terrible was going to happen. Trying to sound stern, I told him I really needed to go see my boyfriend, but it came out as a pathetic plea. Thankfully, by the grace of God, he let go and backed away. All he said was, "I'm sorry," and waved goodbye before walking off. Unable to stop shaking, I called my boyfriend. I told him I was scared and asked him to come get me, but I didn't give him any details. If he knew what happened, he would have tried to beat that guy's ass, and I was terrified he'd get hurt. My boyfriend found me and walked me back to the apartment. The whole time I was looking around like a maniac, waiting for that guy to pop up out of nowhere. We got back inside the house and I finally told my boyfriend what happened. Just like I predicted, he got up to go out and beat the guy's ass. I had to beg him not to leave. I only saw the creepy guy one more time, a few weeks later. My boyfriend and I were heading to my car to run an errand when a truck drove past. There, in the passenger seat, the guy is looking out the window, staring at me. He smiled and waved before the truck pulled off. It made me sick. I never saw him again, but I still look over my shoulder anywhere I go.
After a late shift, she just wanted to get home, but something's in her way. Narrated by Akisha Archer from Reddit user AnyTop2947.
I live in a fairly small town with not a lot of people. At the time of this story, I had been working at a local Burger King for about 2 months. I didn't have a car or any way to get a ride, but it's about a 10-minute walk, which worked for me. And due to the tight-knit community, my dad didn't think it was dangerous. One night, I'm scheduled for my regular 3 to 11. It was a sucky shift with asshole customers, but that's normal. When I finished working, I headed on my normal route home. As I'm about halfway through, I notice a guy up ahead walking towards me on the sidewalk. It was dark and the only thing I could really see was his silhouette. He apparently didn't know I saw him because the moment he saw me, he stopped walking and crouched into a bush. At this point, I'm like, fuck no, don't care what this guy is doing, but I want no part of it. I start walking the other direction to take a different route. And all of a sudden, this guy starts calling out to me, asking for help. When I turned around, he was starting to run in my direction. My heart dropped to my stomach, and I broke out into a sprint. I'm certain that I've never run that fast in my life. I got all the way home without daring to look back even once. Hastily unlocking the door and immediately slamming it back shut. I was pretty shaken by the scenario, but really had no clue what he was actually trying to do. So I brushed it off. I decided that I'd just carry pepper spray in the future. Then, a few days later, it turns out that a girl from my high school was almost kidnapped by a man who also tried to follow her home. From that day on, I never walked home again. For anyone out there who thinks it wouldn't happen to you, you're wrong. Always be safe, because it really could be you.
Don't run away. Disturbed will return in a moment. There are a lot of weird characters in college, but few are as creepy as this one. Narrated by Sinn from Reddit user LoneJHA583.
Back in March, I attended a non-academic event on campus with my friends. Most of the attendees were arts or humanitarian students, so as computer science majors, we stood out. After the event, my friends and I went to the library a few floors below the venue to do our coding assignments on our laptops. As I was working, a familiar face was staring at me from about 25 feet away. I remember seeing this guy, clearly an art student, at the event. His eyes were now locked on me, only looking away when I glanced in his direction. He did this for an hour until I finally left for class. It was weird, but I didn't worry about it much. Then, during class less than an hour later, I caught him peeking through the door of my classroom. He walked by multiple times, staring at me. What's even creepier was the fact that art students in my university's campus mostly have their classes in a different building. He was here for no reason other than to stalk me. I didn't know what to do, and I didn't want to miss any other classes, so I continued on with my normal schedule. I got through gym class without seeing him, and I thought maybe it was over. Then, as I was getting ready to change in the locker room, I noticed that the guy was behind me. I grabbed my change of clothes and decided to head to a stall to get dressed. When I finished, I realized that the sweaty shirt I had just worn during class had disappeared from the door where I hung it. I looked around and found the creepy guy holding it up to his nose with both hands. I went to confront him, but as soon as he saw me, he dropped it and rushed out of the locker room. I decided I needed to file a complaint against this guy. I was busy, so I didn't get around to it until the next week. However, to my surprise, he got expelled from campus exactly a day before I submitted my complaint. Turns out I wasn't the only victim. The staff there said he got expelled for sexually assaulting another male student from a different college. I'm glad he got expelled, but I wish I had spoken up sooner.
Finally, a childhood sleepover goes awry, and her life will never be the same. Narrated by Kaye Burgh from Reddit user Angel Anya.
My parents were always very strict with me growing up, most particularly my mom. She was especially weird about letting me sleep over or visit with friends if older men were present in their homes. I never understood why, as I was born and raised in Canada, and sleepovers were pretty common with my Western peers. I just figured it was due to the fact that she grew up in a strict Muslim household back home, and men and women were kept separate for the most part. One day, when I was 11, I begged both her and my dad on my hands and knees to let me sleep over at my friend Emma's house. I even stressed that she knew her parents and her younger brother, so there should be no issue with me staying the night just once. She, of course, still disagreed, but after some convincing from my dad, she finally folded. I was thrilled. Fast forward to the day of the sleepover. While Emma and I were playing outside in the snow, I noticed a young-looking, attractive older man watching us from inside. I asked Emma who it was, and she said it was her stepdad's younger brother, who was visiting from LA. I thought he was super cool and immediately started asking her a bunch of questions about him. I got the vibe that he was kind of the black sheep of her stepdad's family, since she vaguely mentioned he got in trouble a lot in the States. So later, we're all eating dinner and he joins us. He sits down next to me at the table and immediately starts showering me with compliments. Keep in mind, I had just turned 11 and he was in his early 30s. He kept saying how sweet and cute I was and even pinched my cheeks. At this point, Emma's mom and dad started clearing their throats and sending signals to him that he needed to stop. Honestly, I only realized this as I got older, and I never even thought anything was wrong at the time. That night, Emma and I hung out in her bedroom recording dumb videos on Vine. reading creepypastas, and stuff like that. Eventually, we end up falling asleep in her bed. I woke up several hours later, probably like 2 a.m. or something, because I had to pee. For some reason, I felt really weird about this, since it was my first time sleeping away from home, and I would have to navigate the long, dark hallway to the bathroom. As I'm walking, I hear someone shifting around in one of the rooms. I brush it off as either being Emma's parents or her brother Justin, who is a year younger than us. I truly forgot about her uncle at this point, so after coming out of the bathroom, I see a figure at the end of the hall, which gives me the biggest heart attack. It was her uncle, and he was gesturing for me to come to him. Stupidly, I did, since I thought he just wanted to talk. When I approached him, he said,
I thought it was you, cutie. Why is the little girl awake?
This completely caught me off guard. Even at 11, I was wondering who in their right mind would say something so odd. But before I could respond, he gently tugged on one of my curls and asked if I wanted to see some pictures in his room. I could tell something was wrong about the situation, so I told him I wasn't sure if I was allowed. He scoffed.
Whose permission do you need?
I laughed nervously because I didn't want to be mean, but in my mind, I could already see the ass-whooping I'd get if I went into a man's room alone. What's funny is I didn't even consider how odd it was for a grown man to ask a kid to look at pictures in his room in the middle of the night. I didn't feel fear or sense any danger. I just felt a strange feeling in my gut, like I was doing something wrong. Eventually, he got tired of my waffling and he took my hand, trying to take me into his room. I pulled back, and right at that moment, Justin walked out of his bedroom. It turns out he was gaming and watching streams and happened to hear something going on in the hall. Justin looks me dead in the eyes and says, "You should get back to bed. My parents won't be happy if they find out you're up." I was so grateful and walked toward him quickly before diverting to Emma's bedroom, where she was still out cold. Before closing the door, I look over my shoulder to see her uncle just standing there in front of his guest room, watching me in the darkness. I barely slept a wink. Justin and I never spoke of anything that happened the night before. He just acted very short and somewhat dismissive of his uncle during breakfast, but otherwise acted as if nothing was out of the ordinary. I never told Emma what happened, for some reason. I also never told her parents or mine. Unfortunately, I was also just as friendly to her uncle as I was before. He was even blatantly touchy, playing with my hair and squeezing my face, but as usual, I didn't act like anything was wrong. I never told my parents or older sisters out of fear that they would forbid me from ever sleeping out again. Or worse, my dad would try to beat the guy up. However, I never slept at her house or even visited with her until her uncle went back to the States.
Want more Disturbed? Check out our Patreon for member-exclusive content, early merch access, and other cool perks. I'm your host, Doug Bailey, and this has been Disturbed, a production of Killer Podcasts and part of the Evergreen Network. For more paranormal and true crime shows, visit killerpodcasts.com. Follow our social channels at Disturbed Podcast on Instagram or Disturbed_pod on Twitter. If you enjoyed the show, please consider subscribing and reviewing on your favorite listening platform. Share your own true horror story at disturbedpodcast.com. Music by Epidemic Sound and by Carl Casey at White Bat Audio. Our producer is Declan Roars. Audio engineering by Nathan Corson, Will Pritz, and Sean Rule Hoffman. Executive producer Bridget Coyne. Until next time, stay safe out there.